Hey, and welcome everybody. Welcome to Britain's Hidden History Live 103. Oh, we're already on screen before I knew it. And they said it would never last. I'm so excited tonight. Got absolutely tons and tons and tons of stuff. Wow, there's a huge lag on here, Has this been set up right? Sorry, I disappeared. The boys set it all up. They do all the technical, so thank you, Leon. Right, you're going to play us in, Arnie B? I say Gavin Lloyd, congratulations, first on. Gary Taylor, back from a ramble in the woods. Well done, just in time, yes. Picks up some choice plantain and a nice King Alfred's cake. Let's start planning another camping weekend, Ross. Yes, well, I have got some outdoor footage today. Right, hello Andrew Whelan, Neil Murray, Monica, good evening everyone. Charles, Myrig, Mandy, Sean Paul Wood, excellent. Alan Griffiths, Brad Kemble, Linda Briggs, Meg W, loads of people online. We are off and running. I've got so many areas to cover tonight. Let's let that Arnie play us out a minute. I thought Marcel was going to try for first this evening. Yes, where's Marcel? Oh, she's in Scotland at the moment, I think. Her internet's not quite so good there. Oh yeah, and the t-shirt I'm wearing. There you go. Britain's Hidden History. This is the Gnostic head you can see in London. Thank you very much, Arnie. It was wonderful. What was that, Arn? Do you know?
Let's see. Miss Talbot's Reel.
So that's some old Welsh song or something, is it?
I don't know if it's very old. But...
Some old, anyway, yeah, a bit of fiddle music. Right, got so many things to get through tonight. And one thing which, first of all, just a little bit of an overview chat about the overall situation is that this mountain of work, these notes and everything I've got from Wilson and Blackett, which they gave me on my last visit to say, just do with it, something with them. Nothing specific, just do what you can, which is going to be mostly books. I hope you've noticed over the last week I'm putting up a video just about every day. There's going to be at least one a day. I'm trying, I shouldn't say definite. Try to at least one a day from now on. That's be a midday video, about 7 minutes long. We can just log in and get a little bit of snippet, bite-sized chunk of information about what's going on, all related to this, of course. And it's nearly all, not 100%, but nearly all from Wilson and Blackett. What I've realised, I'm really going to focus in on the British history. I know I get a lot of messages about this. My mind's one of those sort of minds that sort of wander off a bit. I'm sort of looking at this whole idea about the Romans and Greeks and all that kind of stuff, and it does all tie together. Hello, Lucas! Hello, Lucas. Oh, that's Lego's on. Lego's got Sunday evening off. Excellent. And little Lucas. Now, before I know, Lucas, I imagine is that little baby Lucas? Is that an older one? But hello, Lucas. Lego says he loves me. That's lovely. And I've got a funny feeling quite often the young ones particularly hear my voice and it sends them to sleep, an absolute treat. So there we are. If you're struggling with anyone needing to get to sleep, you can't do better than put me on snooze mode and you'll be out like a light, all right? Something I do there. So hello, everybody. Yes, so I was thinking with... there's so much here. I was going to make... actually, when have I got my notes? I might even share my notes. Yeah, I told you I wasn't going to plan to do this. I don't have my red book. If you see my case, Arnie, the case I took out the other day, there's the brown book, the leather one. Yeah. It was quite big. It's like half A4. It's like A5. I wasn't going to show this, but I will just... alright, if we can find it. I've already just trotting through. Don't worry, Arnie, it's okay. There's trotting through that there's at least 12 book titles. When you think a book takes, 5 to 6 months usually, that's 6 years of work, so it's got to be speeded up. Lots more to get out. The next one I think is going to be, what I'm going to do is I'll put a poll up. I'll put this up during the week. What would you like to have next? We've got the book about the pyramids, why the pyramids are there, their purpose, why they were built, who built them, their arrangement, all that kind of stuff, why there's no treasure in them, where the treasure should be. It's just mind-blowing. Stuff Wilson Blackett wrote about 30 years ago, and some of the things they say in there you'd expect to find have since been found. It's startling. That's just one of the many areas that has to be out there. So this channels me a little bit narrower onto their work and their British history particularly. Hey Dane, good to see Dane back again. I haven't seen Dane for a while. Hello. Okay, so we go on to all that. Right, I'll tell you what, let's just dive in tonight because there's so much. If you're new, very welcome, Croeso. What we're doing here is I think anybody will realise that there's a rewrite of history going on at the moment, particularly strong one at the moment, where things are being changed in the past, or how the past is presented, let's put it politely. Now, not to get into discussion, please don't get into that. It's really deep water. It's all about political correctness and all these things. And whether or not you think it's better or worse or more accurate, less accurate, is for other places to discuss. The point we're taking away from it is that political rewrites of history do take place. And what we're looking at is mostly the one that took place beginning in the 18th century, the 1700s, where Britain was written out of its own history and replaced with a new narrative. So looking at all the things that were taken out. And if you go back, you can see lots and lots of physical evidence for things like the migrations, who the Britons are, and then from this it takes us across to America, New Zealand, Europe, who the Romans were, the Greeks were, all that kind of stuff. And do a special soon showing how, I was going to do it for this week, but it wasn't quite ready in time. Wilson and Blackett's work ties in then with a lot of the idea of reboots like flamenco and catastrophe theory and all sorts of things, okay? So we come on to that. This evening, I've got so much to get through already, and I've got, I'll just let you know, this is a very small pile of typed notes, and I've got a volunteers helping, so thank you very much indeed. Thank you for Paul and for Paul's wife. They've already given me one batch back. A bit of trouble with the post on others, so I have to have a rethink how we do it. So I've got locals helping me. We need to get all this into Word format so we can get the books out as quickly as possible. And I am sharing things as fast as I can, all right? That's my policy. Let's get it out there. Let's have everyone to see it and as quickly as possible. So thank you for all the offer support. Loads of typing offers. It's going to be great. And I want to show tonight some of the work that's going on with field work and stuff. It's quite funny, some of it. All right, so let's... when I've done, I put it in a little bit of a sort of presentation type thing. Oh, I didn't put the graphic on the first one. So it's been a very busy week, and it's been fantastic for that. Right, okay, let's get the slideshow going. And there's quite a big video. I've got some more video to show of Alan. I hope you've been enjoying those. I love them. I just love seeing Alan talk. And he's on great form, as you can see. And I know he seems a bit down on some of these videos, but he's not actually. Sometimes it's I don't think he's not really down. Sometimes it's what they call sardonic wit. It's like that very Cardiff, dry, downbeat humour, you know. And one of my challenges when I talk to him is try and force a laugh out of him. So there's a good one coming up tonight. Right, okay, so let's have a look. Yeah, I just spotted this during the week. If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they don't want to hear. George Orwell. Not sure exactly where that comes from. But it's one of his quotes. And I put this up there because, just to say again, we are starting to load the videos onto other formats in case anything ever happens to YouTube. It's a bit vulnerable at the moment. It's like YouTube and Facebook. Without those, we almost disappear, so that's not good. And also, we'd like to do... We start developing revenue streams so we can pay for a dedicated website that can hold all the videos, and we can use that. We're not in the hands of other people so much. So please, we can just afford a couple of pounds a month. Just join up on the membership here or Patreon or the donation page. Just a couple of quid, that's all. If lots of us all put a couple of quid each in, this Britain's Hidden History project will fly, all right? It's full time, so I need some help on the finances, okay? Right, oh yeah, single bead. Oh, just one of these little silly stories now. Just thought I'd put one up. Where's all the text gone to go with that one? Oh, I know it is, yeah. And what I shall do is... just making sure I don't like doxing people. I've just removed all the names. I'm just making double certain. Yes, I have. Right, okay. So I've copied and pasted this from Facebook. Just to give you an idea of the kind of discussions. Now, it's a single bead I was found up near Virlander, and someone's thrown a question out there. Who wore it, bought it, by which trade route? Sea, land, river, market. How did it get here? An impetus for our imagination. And all people say it could be Egyptian, it could be this, that, and the other. And of course I put, I know it's a little bit heretical, but how about it could be British? Because this is, if you're new to this is what we come up against all the time. Anything that's found in Britain, you'll notice, once you're aware of it, once you've seen this and you're thinking about it, even the most dyed-in-the-wool, full-on, mainstream, never question anything people, once you've heard it, it's one of those you can't unsee it type things, okay? I mean, I was a mainstream history for decades, all right? I mean, I'll give anybody a quiz challenge about Romans and all the mainstream stuff. So I haven't come here just from nowhere. It's well researched. Hang on, let's zoom in. It's going to be very small on some screens. So I've suggested it could be British, and of course, I've removed the names. So no matter how one phrases a post, we cannot escape your obsessional response in defence of the native Britons and their alleged brilliance. Oh, it says the Bead might be British. The title of this group is Roman Britain, sometimes referred to as Romano Britain, just to be crystal clear. It deals with the impact of a highly advanced, disciplined, organised, artistic, technological, bureaucratic, wealthy imperial society that invaded and conquered the agrarian society existing here at the time. So this is the picture we're up against. Yeah, Britain primitive, nothing ever happened. Romans, uber mensch, who can just do everything, build everything, and taught the poor peasants. And if you recognise this kind of phrasing and everything, it's worth bearing in mind these kind of things were written, these images were created at the same time as the British Empire was being created. And the same way as Britain was this vast worldwide empire being run out of London, where people were turning up with superior technology, and they were building railways and modern roads and introducing industrialization, all sorts of things. What they were trying to do was create this as a parallel, like a reflection of what the ancient Romans were, and the Romans were doing the same thing. Difference is, the Roman story isn't real. Okay, I assume the British Empire one is. Okay, so their new prepared method. I've picked this one out because it does sum things up quite nicely. Their new preferred mode was urbanisation, which you cannot refute. I think I can, but anyway. Why not invent your own page with your own meticulous research into the proof of native Britain art and technology under and in spite of the Roman overlords? Good luck. It's brilliant, isn't it? So this is my response. So why use terms such as Romano Britain, or even Romano Britain as you call it? The British Raj ran for 300 years or so in India. So do you call those people Britanno-Indian or Inglano-Indian or something like that? North America was invaded by Europeans. So should we call the North Americans Europo-Indian? Of course not. The term Romano-British is just as inappropriate and offensive. Secondly, there's no physical evidence to support your assertion that the Romans were some sort of master race that did all those wonderful things. It's a recent doctrine that was invented for political reasons. It'll no doubt shock you to learn that there is nothing before Renaissance times to support any sort of Roman Empire. I know this is too big a step for most people. Now, this is what I'm going to get onto more possibly next week, although the copies of King Arthur conspiracy books have now, most people are sending messages saying they've received their book, they started reading them. So what I want to do is give everyone another week or two to have a good read themselves before I start going through the book in more detail. I don't want to plot spoil the book. I know it's daft for a history book, but if you're reading it, I think you'd want to be ahead of me talking about it, I'd have thought. So I said, so to go more slowly, there is an increasing amount of evidence to show that the Britons had roads and towns well before the Romans turned up. There are also plenty of coins that predate the Romans and plenty of records of cities, including London, that predate the Romans by many hundreds of years. There are also plenty of examples of wonderful British art that predate the Romans by hundreds of years, such as the Mould Cape, which you can look up. British history is the best recorded in Western Europe and was only overturned following the coup of the British throne in 1688. If you're not aware of this, it's referred to as the Glorious Revolution. So you can look that up. It's when the old kings were kicked out by force of arms, right? With a foreign army invaded England. It was an invasion, okay? So unpopular Germanic kings were placed on the throne and a whole new history invented. Why do you think it is that British schools, and particularly the public schools, which is what they call private education in Britain, the posh schools, study Roman and Greek history rather than British history? Why are we the only country that names our warships after foreign deities in mythology, such as Achilles, etc.? Why not British names? Britain had writing before the Romans, and many of the so-called Roman emperors are actually British kings with their name Latinised to hide them. As fun as it is to revel in the Roman master race idea, don't you find it a bit offensive and strange that the British are portrayed as primitive barbarians, which is another Victorian idea, that they're the only country on earth incapable of producing anything for themselves? So you got the answer there, which is quite amusing. You can read yourself, look at the whole discussion, but this is, I think, it's a good way to summarise what's going on. So everything's great, everything's Roman, okay? Mentions about Gaul, though, which I would like to, if anyone knows more about Gaul, France, because I remember reading an article a few years ago showing that the roads there were actually pre-Roman as well, but I can't find it yet. And they had a system of roads, they called them, what's those trousers? Corduroy. Corduroy. The technique also used in the American Civil War in the 1860s. And it's when you put the logs that way. So you got, it must be a very bumpy road, but it's very strong. I don't know if they put planking over the top to level it out. But I think that's called corduroy. But that's from memory. And that was years ago, at least 5 years ago. So if anyone could find some more on that, that would be great. But thank you to Bruce E. Toucher, who very kindly found this article, all right? So I'll put the link up. Because if you remember, the original question was this bead found in Britain. Oop, on the wrong page there. We'll come to that in a second. Glass beads, there it is. I hope you're still following. I haven't cut everyone off. Is that a glass bead found in Britain? I thought this is interesting because I didn't know about this. So thank you, excuse me, Mr. Toucher there. And what this shows at is that there's extensive glass bead manufacture in Britain, which I didn't know about. So I thought I'd share this quickly while we're on the programme. So they don't find so many in Bronze Age burials, because a lot of the time they cremated. They didn't do burials with grave goods. But what they have found is lots of different designs and shapes and styles. And these go back for hundreds and hundreds of years. I think it said 800 BC somewhere. From roughly 800 BC onwards. I mean, they do guess a bit with the dates. But the point is that an interesting story about the young woman and possible local society at the end of the 1st century BC and early 1st century AD. That's interesting because that's pre-Roman, even with the official version. She would not have been alive during Julius Caesar's invasion, but she may have lived through the Claudian invasion of 43 AD. Nevertheless, she would have lived during a time of change, and the artefacts included in her grave reflect this, as she's buried with local, or at least typical British, artefacts, as well as Roman and potentially more general objects from continental Europe. So you got beads are found all over the place. All right, so this idea that you find beads, therefore they must be, Egyptian or something. Oh, that's madness, isn't it? But yeah, this is the kind of world we live in. This kind of history we're up against. Okay. Hang on, current slide. Here we are. A bit more. Yeah, I'm not aching as much this week as last week. I did my squats again, done my keeping. I'm going to play cricket next week. I am getting slowly fit. It's painful. You wonder if it's worth it. Right, let's quick look at the comments a second. Just whiz it round a second. What else we got on there? Good evening all. Definitive Grace. Iron Age craftwork in site near Inverness. Maybe of interest, Ross. Pre-Roman site and the excavated glass beads there. Thank you very much. Yeah, one of the things that I was discussing, you can soak up your time, these things, but I really, really recommend going on to things like Facebook. I know I sell Facebook a lot, like I'm a fanboy. I am a bit, really. We wouldn't have this Britain's Hidden History group without being able to get together on that. And one thing you find discussions like that, there are good people out there, like that person who I've never met, putting the information up, which is useful. It also refines your arguments. This is really, really important. It's particularly important for me, editing and publishing the books. But for anybody, because you put something in there, and if there's this mistake, or you got it wrong, or your reference doesn't add up or something, someone will call you on it, or they'll say, prove it, or where'd you get that from? And that's when that's why you develop this. It's what we used to do in those places called pubs, when people used to have arguments and discussions. And about Scotland, to me, it just seems, I can't see any real evidence to support the Romans spending any real time in Scotland. It's weird. There's a lot of stuff going on where they think they were all up into the Orkney Isles and putting roads there and named the places and everything. I'm already not buying it because of the Roman myth, but if you think about it logistically, it just seems ridiculous, doesn't it? Think about it. You've got maybe one legion went to Scotland, 5,000 or 6,000 men have ever been to Scotland. See the size of the place. The mountain ranges are just vast. You think if you read recently reread a Kidnap for the Boys. So I should put some clips up of these. I don't know what the copyright is because I read them for the boys as bedtime stories. Proper books, older books, and some of the we do read rubbish as well. Let's be fair. But you can get kidnapped. You may attempt to do like 6 different Scottish accents with a Lowlander and a Highlander and all that. But one of the things you see in there was that even in fairly modern times, because that's just after the Jacobite Rebellion of 1745, so the book's set about 1750 or something. I'm not sure the exact date, actually. But it's by Robert Louis Stevenson, obviously the great storyteller. And you've got royalists on the run and everything. And the British are trying to subjugate Scotland. And they've got muskets, thousands and thousands of troops and all that. And you just see, just reading that book, how impossible. Once they take to the heather, as they call it, and run off into the hills and things. And it's the same with Wales, most of England. You're not going to conquer it and subdue the people with a few thousand blokes in sandals. It's just not physically possible. Even modern day with tanks and airplanes and stuff, it'd be really tough. In those days, I'm not having it. Just on common sense basis. Right, Ross, hi, hope you got my film of India Holistic Media. She was so great at linking them all together. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, not only did I get the video, it is posted. If you look on the channel, it's about 3 videos back. You will see my presentation at Birmingham at the FEB. So thank you very much to India. I was going to give a thank you tonight for that. And Holistic there. Hippie Shake. Yep, thank you very much. It was really appreciate that. It was great. And if you hadn't recorded it, I have no record of it. And if you'd like to watch that presentation, it's about the whole narrative following the language, really. How you can see how the migrations to America could have taken place, then follow the language back, and a bit about hieroglyphs and stuff like that. So, yes, thank you very much indeed. It's already posted, acknowledged. Thanks. Huge thanks from me. All right. Okay. Oh, and there we go. Funny enough, the next thing to talk about was the book. Yes, it is on general sale now, so you want to get your copies. Thank you for the pre-orders. That's great. There are a few extra signed ones if you're quick, only a few. Because basically it was signed for the pre-order copies. So there's a few over, which are available. I'm going to talk more. I've already said this, but I was going to talk more about this in the next week or two when people who bought the book have had a chance to read it, or at least read some of it. It's a big book. Right, Alan's 90th birthday. Oh. Has the power come out?
It just slipped.
Yeah, it happens. So, yes, I've got the venue organised in Newcastle. Excuse me, as mentioned last week. And I might switch it, actually. There's less people. It's difficult to get to Newcastle. Appreciate that. Unless you live in Newcastle, obviously, or near it. So I think it's going to be a smaller event than I might have originally thought. And my plan at the moment is to reduce it right down and get a private room for a nice lunch and a chat. Hopefully Alan will do a bit of a presentation. And I'd probably reduce it to about 30 people, maybe 40. And that'll be it. And more than half of those places have already been taken. So you need to email me or message me if you definitely want to come, because that's going to be a small event. It's just too much going on to organise something big and numbers and all that. It's going to be very difficult. Oh yeah, and a thank you on the last one to Martin Leaker for organising the FEB tour. I know there's been quite a bit of controversy about it, but honestly, it was fine. And the organisation on the day was great. And India did a great job. I loved it. I loved the other speakers. I'll just tell you quickly. There was Martin Devlin, who used to be Radio 1. Oh, was it Radio 1? I think it was Radio 1. He was a disc jockey. And he was talking all about funny enough, no one's talking about Flat Earth, all right? So, and please, can we just not have Flat Earth on the chat tonight? I was looking back, it really did distract, especially when we're showing the videos of Alan and stuff. It's a legitimate argument, right? I'm not poo-pooing or ridiculing or anything. It's not what we discuss here, all right? That's all it is, okay? Please don't anybody take it the wrong way. Because for some reason, people get really, really emotional about that particular subject. And one of the things you have to bear in mind as well is that whatever way you look at it, whether it's true, right, wrong, whatever, it does have a certain, the way it's treated in the media and people's attitude towards people who follow those views are incredibly negative, and it can spill over onto how people think about Wilson and Blackett's historical work, which I'm not in a position to do that. You know, I've got a duty of care, if you like. I'm a custodian of their work, and I've got to present it the best way I can, okay? So let's leave that for other videos or other times. There's other chances, okay? Not because I don't think it's a fascinating subject or anything like that. It's just not appropriate here, okay? So please. Right, so this birthday's going to be in Newcastle there. What else am I going to say? Ah, yeah, it's all tied together. Speaking engagements, thank you for that event. If you know any other events, don't have to be huge, and you can try and get me an invite or something, I'd be delighted to turn up, all right? We need to spread the word, and I find face-to-face, I love doing them, and it's going to be good for everything. So if you want to organise something and book me in, no problem at all, okay? And we can, so just let me know. Right, okay, yeah, now, right, this came up by a coincidence. Thank you, Dean Morgan, for sending this. Dean sends me lots of stuff. And this was very interesting for a number of reasons. Can I click on that? No, I can't. Okay, hang on a second. God, so many... You can't see it at all, can you? Oh, I got so many buttons to press. All right, so there's the article, okay? And I go to... right, what do I do now? I can press that, and I press that. And I got to go that. Yes. Right, there it is. Okay. Plot spoiler on the football score. Can't believe it. Right. Dogland, lost Atlantis to the North Sea, gives up its ancient secrets. Now, one of the reasons I'm mentioning this, because it talks about here the idea of a lost Atlantis under the North Sea. Okay? Wilson and Blackett's notes tell you exactly where Atlantis is. And you can see the place names. They're still on the map. A lot of the places mentioned are still there. You just need their rare genius to spot them and call them and say what they are, okay? And I don't know what to do with that, because it's pretty huge. It's almost as huge as the pyramids. So I might do a premiere or something, or a separate evening, or maybe one of these Sunday evenings, or look out for the video, because it's brilliant. But so that'll be coming very soon, right? As fast as I can. All this is going to go out. Some of the quality might, not the books, but some things might seem a bit rushed. Anyway, so what we're talking about here is Doggerland, anyway, which is could be part of ancient Atlantis. So there's mainland Europe, there's UK, talking about this area. But what is fascinating about this is this bit. And this I'd like to see more of. We have a wonderful community of amateur archaeologists who almost daily walk these beaches and look for the fossils and artefacts, and we work with them to analyse and study them, said Van der Vaart's Verschoof. Sorry if I slaughtered that, apologies. It is open to everyone, and anyone could find a hand axe, for example. Pretty much the entire toolkit that would have been used has been found by amateur archaeologists. You don't have to be a professional to look for things. If you've got places you look, you go out for walks. We need to get together. We need to do more of this. If you go through history, you find like cuneiform was cracked by an amateur. Even Champollion, who we might dispute now, but he was an amateur. Lots of the big breakthroughs don't come from universities. In fact, I'd say most don't. The other point about this is, why is that underwater? Why is this underwater, and how long has it been underwater? I mean, the official narrative is 10,000, 9,000, 8,000 years ago, a time of tsunami, I notice on this map, which then again ties in with Velikovsky about catastrophes, and also Wilson and Blackett talk about. They have jolts or tilts to that or whatever it is, but some sort of jolt or tilt happens, which throws the water off and moves the deeper water from one place to another. And this seems to be what happened here. And it might not be that far back. I mean, just bizarre, I find it, when they say things like a 50,000-year-old flint tool. I mean, there's just no way they can know that. Why do they throw these numbers out there? It's just bizarre. I mean, you can't date the flint stone, you know. And even if that birch tar pit survived, which I can't imagine anything survived 50,000 years apart from things like stones, but even if it did, you can't date that either. And suddenly from that, then it's like, we know about Neanderthals and all sorts of things. Hyenas, you see this though? There's lots of good clues in here. There were different types of animals living in this area. You can't deny there are large herds of reindeers and things like this. Cave lions, saber-toothed cats, wolves, all sorts of things were living in an area currently underwater. So climate change is not new, all right? And it's not... Am I doing all this and you can't see it? Arnie's disappeared. Sorry, I have to go to the top again. What's going on? Why isn't this working? Yep, it's working now. Sorry about that. All right, it's probably on the comments as well, was it? Oh, Marshall is there. One of your favourite subjects. Excellent. Lovely to meet you. Yes, thank you. There's lovely people at the conference. I enjoyed that. I'd like to do more of them. So, right, so here we go. That's what I was talking about. You can see this article yourself, and you can read about it. This is the map. This is the area between Northern Europe and UK, which is underwater now. Is also shallow. But the other thing, which I don't have in front of me right now, this is another area which is about to be more or less destroyed. I would call it destroyed by putting up wind farms, power stations using wind energy, and that's going to go there along this area. And one of the things that people have to bear in mind as well is the maintenance. How do you maintain stuff out in the North Atlantic? How do you go there and repair it? How will you remove it at the end? Is anyone going to bother, or is that just going to clog up the sea and be a dumping ground? There you go. Now, one of the things I meant to do when I got to the bit about Alan, so I'll just show you the last, sorry, since I managed to, there's me talking about these things, you couldn't see them. Look at this, wide open, grassy plains of Doggerland, with the ideal grazing ground for large herds of animals such as reindeer, who are prey for the cave lions, saber-toothed cats, cave hyenas, etc. So there you go. So this shows you how dramatic climate change can be. And it also shows how amateur archaeologists have got to make the effort. And that's where we come in, because that's what we are. That's what we're doing. All right? Right, now, hang on one second. I'm going to do a little bit of video of Alan. This is a video I'm going to put up later in the week. See, in my mind, I had this whole show, because this is going to come before my last little speech. Hang on, I got to make sure it's not the deaf in here. Was that too loud? I can't tell from here. Hang on. No, I think that's right. I'll put the whole video up. I'll put the whole video up in a couple of days. There's one I come up every day this week. I'm scheduling in advance. But it's only 8 minutes. Come on. Promise me you watch it twice. Keep my numbers up on the other ones. I can't put my finger on what the opposition's about. It's just because it's different, I think. It's just different to what people learned at school.
So?
I know so. There should be all the more reason for reading it. If you don't know it, you should know it. And you should read the books.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're telling people what you're taught in school.
There we go. I can't put my finger on what the opposition's about. It's just because it's different, I think. It's just different to what people learned at school.
So?
I know so. There should be all the more reason for reading it. If you don't know it, you should know it, and you should read the books.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're telling people what you're taught in school is rubbish and lies. Virtually lies. It's a massive deception.
Well, most of it is, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to believe that.
No. This is the thing. It's a propaganda war, if you like.
That's right. That's right. And it all comes from our friends in England. My father's English, but he was brought into Wales as a little boy who was 6.
So let him off.
My grandfather's was there. And so I regarded himself as Welsh anyway. And so I'd always regarded myself as Welsh.
But the other thing I always like to mention a lot when I talk about it on the channel and everything is that it's English have actually lost more than the Welsh in some ways, because they don't even know they've got a lost history. They all think they're Anglo-Saxon.
Oh yeah, it was rubbish.
Most of them are Britons anyway.
And very few are Anglo-Saxon.
Very few. So they've lost everything as well. It's not just a Welsh thing.
Yeah, but you're not telling us we ought to have a go at the English as well.
No, you've got to bring them on board, I think, yeah.
Well, how do you do that?
I don't see this as exclusively Welsh at all.
Well, it's not. But, it's like everything else.
It's like world history.
You start somewhere. You have to start somewhere and take it from there. The only place you can really start with any substance is down there. And then again they say, oh, no, South Wales, North Wales needs tourists. It's like saying the Isle of Man needs tourists, isn't it? Yeah.
But look at England. The problem with England is you can't get to any of the history, can you? The pre-Saxon history is very, very difficult to access in England.
Well, they don't
Wales is the only place you've got.
Well, the establishment doesn't want it.
No.
The establishment wants it the way it is.
Yes.
They've convinced themselves, actually, that the Irish, the Welsh and Scots were primitives, right? And the Anglo-Saxons are the greatest things in sliced bread. And they never teach the children that a huge comet struck Britain and destroyed it.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that's missing, isn't it?
And then once you realise that a civilization was destroyed, and peasants, who were illiterate mostly, came rushing in to grab bits of land when they were reviving, that's where the English came. Mm-hmm. There was no conquest. Britain was struck by a comet, but of course, what university was going to admit that in the 19th century?
Yeah, I think that's. I'd like to do a separate book just on the comet based on your work. I think that's worth its own book.
Well, can you do it?
Well, you've written enough. There's enough of your own published stuff as well about the comet.
Could you do it?
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah,
do it. I'll put some money in.
We don't need to put any money in, Alan. It's all right.
I haven't got a lot, but speed it up because I'm not going to be up now.
All we did to fund this one was because as you know, all the costs are up front. That's the problem, the printing and everything.
Aye.
Your fans all pre-ordered the books before they were even printed.
That's it.
So that pays for the print run then. And hopefully we can, as we get more books sold, we can actually put some money in the pot ready for the next one.
We got to somehow get it publicised.
Yeah, this is the.
And TV and that has never been friendly towards us. Possibly because we're offending all the Oxford and Cambridge experts in their theorising their platforms, you know. But we've never had a fair crack from TV.
No, I think a lot of things don't, though. I think that's the way it is.
Well, how are we going to get a fair crack?
Well, just keep pushing the right buttons, isn't it?
That's a lovely set photograph, isn't it?
Yeah, all the images have been redone.
Brutus.
All new images, if you notice.
We've neglected things like old Brutus, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, what's wrong with us? Politics, I think.
Well, yeah, it's ridiculous that Britain doesn't seem to have any history.
Well, they say
the only country in the world didn't do anything, apparently, before the Saxons turned up.
Well, you've got to promote the present royal family and journalism. You've got to promote them, you see. That's where they made a mistake. They're overdoing the promotion of the ruling elite. And they've forgotten that you don't need to do that. And so we mustn't say anything about other earlier people and so on, which might in some way sort of slightly damage them. That's what the problem is.
We're trying to get people to think, why do you think Britain is the only country in the world incapable of doing anything? No, we couldn't make pottery, we couldn't build a wall.
No.
We couldn't do anything according to the official history.
I know.
Romans had to teach us everything, and then we forgot everything. And then the Saxons came and taught us again.
But if you look at the Roman record, it's quite different.
Yeah.
Now the Saxons came in because Britain was hit by a bloody comet.
Yeah.
Now that's what they wouldn't admit, because it means all the academics would have to say, see, no stone can ever fall from heaven on earth, said the church. That was it. So you can't have Britain destroyed by bloody debris from a comet, which was what happened. The bloody country was destroyed, most of it. And until people get that in their heads, that fundamental, we've tried to explain that time and again.
Yes.
Britain was struck by the tail and the debris of the tail of a huge comet, and the whole damn country was blasted. And if you read the histories, it tells you that. But they don't want you reading the history, because in the 19th century, when this was all first getting published, publication was started, you dare not say anything that would upset the church.
Well, they all were church, the people writing the books.
Oh yeah.
Bishop Stubbs and all those.
That's right. So you all got to follow church doctrine. So the church said one thing and the history said another. You threw the history out.
Well, being an academic, you had to...
You wouldn't get a job.
No,
You had to prove you're an Orthodox Christian to get a job in university.
Yes.
You know, so we're suffering from that. And I'm not anti-church. I think people need some set of values and so on. But they've done an awful damage to Britain. Terrible damage. And yeah.
Well, that's the way you run a country, though. That's how you do it. You keep your people ignorant.
Yeah.
Easier to manage.
You summed it up in one phrase. Keep the people in ignorance. They're more easily controlled than to manage them. Well, that can only last for so long, can it?
Yeah.
So why is it left to us to have to take this burden, you know?
Well, to quote from the film Zulu, Alan, because you're here, son, because you're here. Because you're here.
Yeah, why are we doing this search?
You're here for a purpose, this is your purpose.
Because we're here. That's a famous thing from a wartime film, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Famous line.
Because you're here, son.
Because you're here.
Why me?
It summed it up in one phrase, didn't it?
So there you go. There you go. Oh, yeah, a bit of me singing as well now. There you go. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm sure you did. So he's in good he's in good form, really, which you cut through. As you can see, we go on very well. We have a laugh. It's good fun. And yeah, he's just wonderful. The point he's making there really struck me. And editing that video really struck me. There's no edits in it. Just you can see it's a straight run through. No words missing, nothing. All right, Alan, as you can see, is sharp as a button. He can just trot it out, reasoned arguments. So don't start thinking he's using his mind. All right, he's not. He's sharp. He knows all his stuff. Short-term memory, like where he left something, that's not so good. But that's what we all go through. As far as history and everything's concerned, he's fantastic. Still is. But he does make a good point. He is almost 90. We need to crack on. I want to go up there. Every time you can see him there while I'm talking to him. He's looking at the book, King Arthur Conspiracy. Delighted to see it republished. New covers, all that. You know, and Tony, you know, one looks after him, lives there. No, they're not a couple, all right? They share a house. They're flatmates. So he's gone off to London. He's had a good time. Everyone's happy. We've got to keep doing more things like this, all right? And the birthday be a good thing. Now, some good questions came up. Oh, I got this new light. Well, not new. It's actually very old. Found in my parents' house, which I moved into. Hang on. Is that going to really be weird? Am I going to look like a ghost? I'm looking forward to see what this looks like. But I can actually read my notes now. Oh, that's all right, isn't it? Doesn't look too bad, doesn't it? Look too weird? Looks a bit weird, doesn't it? And let's turn it that way a bit. It's just not too glary on me. Right, the good questions in the comments there from Kenneth McKee. I think we've spoken before. Thank you, Kenneth. What he points out is that in Scotland, in the after the Jacobite uprisings, there was Highland Clearances. It's a bit more recent than I normally go into history, but we're looking sort of mid-18th century. And you've got things like the Glencoe massacre and stuff like that. And the idea was to basically destroy the Highlands. They were the old British supporters, if you like. So it would be fascinating to look, is there more about who they were exactly? Were they Scotii? Were they Cymru? Were they Picts? All that kind of thing would be interesting to look at, more importantly. What they did in the clearances, they went round. First of all, they changed the economy. Before that, it was a quite wealthy cattle economy. So a lot of that got taken away. They were given sheep. Forests were cut down. The people were deported in large numbers, particularly to America. And there's a really interesting section, again, in Kidnapped, the book by Robert Louis Stevenson. It's just thrown in there fairly randomly. And quite a shock when I read it, because I couldn't remember this scene. I don't think it's in the film or anything. Is that they go to one of the harbours, I think it must be on the west coast near the islands, and a boat is about to leave with a few thousand Scots on it who are going to America, never to return, whether they're going through poverty, indentured servants, which is basically slavery, or they're taken as prisoners, or whichever form it is. It's a really harrowing scene because all around the quay, they are sort of keening and they're crying for their lost people and shouting back and forth across the boat. 'Cause there's no phones or internet in those days. When you were gone, you'd never see these people again. It's almost like them dying, isn't it? So it's a very emotional part of it. And the same then we had the so-called potato famines in Ireland. Well, of course, food production wasn't the issue. It was what happened to the food and their poverty. So it was something I actually got to study at universities a couple of times. Finally, after all these years, a couple of things I did on in my degree come in useful, which is quite remarkable. I never thought they would. And one was poverty studies I did under a famous lecturer called Maurice Shima. And he wrote a book called Rice and Fish, which I'm going to get more marks tonight than I did all those years ago. And the point was there that you could be a farmer producing rice, you could be a fisherman producing fish, and you could still starve to death because the way economics works. And that seems to be what happened in Ireland, another famous example. But anyway, long way around, the question Kenneth asked, was there a similar clearance done in England or Wales? Well, he actually said Wales, I've added England. And that's a really good question, because I'm not really aware there was as such. I mean, a lot were deported, a lot of, huge number of Welsh people in the setting up for America, which seemed to disappear from history. And if you watch any sort of Hollywood film where everything's Irish or possibly Scottish, never Welsh, same in America. So if anyone knows, were there any sort of clearances or deportations in Wales? Yes, I think that's a really interesting question. Thank you, Kenneth. I don't know. I should ask Alan next time I see him. Right, it's 9 o'clock here. I haven't even got to the main points yet. All right. Well, it's all just gentle. It's a bit gentle this evening. As I said, it's up to my eyeballs getting all this stuff done. And healthy body, healthy mind. I'm trying to get fit as well. And going to play cricket. I never used to have to get fit for cricket. It's just play rugby all winter. Cricket. What do you get fit for cricket for? Now I've realised, if I'm going to play cricket, I need to be fit. Right. Okay. Yes. Right. One of the great unsung heroes of this whole project is Michael Tomberlin, who you might remember from a video about the Clydach Vale or Blaenavon. He lives near Blaenavon. And he took me up there one day to show what we think are ancient remains and possible burial mounds, stuff like that. Really, really nice person. He's helped me loads. He's given me books. He's done all sorts of things. One of the requests I put out recently was looking at the Gosford Cliffs. Hang on a second. Wow, I must find an easier way of doing all this because this is now in a Word document. Hang on. I have to get this on screen. Oh, come on, Ross, hurry up. Gosford Cliffs. Yes. And so, right, okay, just share this. So what Michael's done, which is really amazing, he's taken I should explain what the Gosford Cliffs are, shouldn't I? It's the hieroglyphs found in America, Australia. Nice try, Ross. Australia. And they seem like Egyptian hieroglyphs, and they seem to read like them. The weird thing is, of course, is that they don't produce a decent set of pictures. Honestly, it's ridiculous. If you're in Australia, I keep putting this appeal out, and I've got some in Australia, unfortunately, doesn't live near enough. Because some of it's now you can't even get to it, of course. If you can get there, I think it's not that far from Sydney. There must be someone out there, surely. And just take a decent set of photographs so we can have a go at reading it in line. And you've got like the Stranges. There's Mr. Stephen Strange and his son, who I've been trying to get hold of now for 3 years, who's very keen to understand all these hieroglyphs, right to the point we actually suggested you might have an answer and ask him, can he please send some proper pictures? Can't get them. So what Michael's done is get the video and still frozen it and lifted to try and get as many hieroglyphs as possible. It's going to be a long project. He's already got quite far. Oh, sorry, is it? Bright as a button. That's it. Sharp as a button. That's it. Oh, explain my expressions. Okay. Right, okay, so there's the first bit. So what Michael's then done is lift the... It's just brilliant what he's done. Produce tables. And he's also, when we reissue some of the books, producing tables like this. Did a lot of help on getting King Arthur Conspiracy done. So he's taken this. This is all lifted from this picture, okay? So there's the snake there, look. We're not quite sure what's under there. So there's the large snake. If you know from hieroglyphs, it's Welsh, it's nadir. Snake means no. So it's a negative. So whatever this is. Now, this is quite interesting, actually. Yeah? So not to go forward, okay, because that's to go forward if that's a radish, which I think it is. Not to go forward. To go forward, to set forth. So it's just, so he's explained where he's got this one from. And I'll do this in more detail because he's done fantastic work. So the great thing is, once you know your hieroglyphics, buy the book. Please support the channel, buy the book, you'll enjoy it. And you can learn in no time at all how to read hieroglyphs. And there's a dictionary in the back, so if you get a symbol, you just look at the symbol and think, hang on, what does that one look like? There it is, and there's a word, and it's the same word every time. This is the great thing about it. It's not like conventional hieroglyphs where every symbol's got 50 different possible meanings. It's got one. Kind of as a writing system should work, yeah? And he's done loads like this. You go through the whole thing. So I'm going to go through this in more detail. It's fantastic. Brilliant, Michael. Well done, well done, well done. And he's doing more and more on this, and we're going to get back to it. And we're just working on a few other things. So I just want to put that out there. One of the unsung heroes of the whole project. Okay, what's next? Aha, right. Oh, yeah, the Sarmatian Arthur. Right, I don't know if you've heard this story. It's going around a lot at the moment. I don't know why it's going around particularly at the moment. Who knows? But I have crossed swords, as it were, with the writer of the book about it, Linda. Hang on a second. Let's make sure I get this right. King Arthur. Yes, got it. Here we go. So I'm fairly well organised this week. Okay. The idea is, you can read something about it here, that King Arthur, the one we talk about, the historical Welsh King Arthur, is actually a Sarmatian knight. I mean, I think that's ridiculous. This was the idea behind the Clive Owen film about King Arthur. Now, there's a large number of what I would consider to be fundamental flaws with this idea. Well, one being, we think we know who Arthur was, but anyway. The other, I'll just give the background to it as I understand it, is that in the 2nd century, so we're talking way before Arthur, a commander, now I've looked into this a little bit, the main claim for this is what's he called, Castus Arturius or something like that. There is a Roman with Arthur in his name, so that's the sort of key, if you like. The idea is they come from, I guess, Iran or Armenia, some in the Middle East. They've been drafted into the Roman army as mercenary cavalry, which is where you get the horse connection, the knights and everything. And they've trotted over all the way to Britain. And the theory is they've decided to settle, and that gives rise to the Arthurian stories. Now, the second major fundamental flaw, I would say, is that this is supposed to have happened in the 2nd century, whereas the Arthur stories, well, we're talking about King Arthur II here, or even King Arthur I. We're talking about King Arthur I, who fought against the Romans. He's in the 380s. So that's already 200 or 300 years later. If we go to Arthur II, as you'll see, which is the one they're trying to connect him to, who even with the earliest conventional versions tend to go with about 450s, and we would go with much later than that, 500s. Well, basically the 500s, 6th century. So that would mean, even if they were Sarmatian cavalry, which I don't think they were, by the way, but even if they were, at what point do they stop being Sarmatians and they start being Britons? This is quite a big thing. So if your family did emigrate, so let's put it into modern terms. So when they say 2nd century, let's go right in the middle, say 150 AD. And then Arthur II, we'll go with the earliest conventional histories, 450, which is 100 years before we would put it, but anyway, you're looking at a 300-year gap. So this theory says that if you migrated to Britain, if you're an immigrant into Britain, what are we on, 2022, in the 1720s, you are still a Sarmatian, you're still not a Briton. So that makes it fundamentally flawed from the get-go. If you've been marrying local people, your son marries a daughter, your daughter marries a son, you are going to be, what do you reckon, 4 or 5 generations a century. You're already 15th, 16th centuries, or 1/15th, 1/16th Sarmatian. It's a mad theory, just on that fundamental core. But what I couldn't understand is where it gets credence and everything. And this seems to be And I think I finally cracked it at a moment of what I think is inspiration. So if it all goes wrong, just tell me, all right? Now, the idea here is that this person called, is a person called Herthu. Oh, Herthu is in the Colburn. Ah, Marcel, we'll have to have a chat about this. The movie has Arthur as half British and half Roman, and his knights with Sarmatian. Not Salmatian, I think they have the fishes. No, the Sarmatian, so I shouldn't take the mickey. Thank you for that one. Oh, David Church. Regards Gaulish roads, is it corduroy or coed du roy? King's wooden roads. That I like. I don't know. That's where the word corduroy comes from. Yes, the British told the Picts who wanted to call themselves British that they would be able to do so after 9 generations. Just well after that. But I think if you look at the modern situation where, well, in a decade you can become British in no time at all, really. To suddenly say after 300 years you're not British seems a bit crazy. But this struck me. Let's just follow me on this little wander a minute. Right, now the point of this, I don't know how much detail I'll be able to cover. Hang on, sorry, I'll blur your eyes, Mick. I'm just going to jump to the end to see who wrote this. I can't remember who wrote this. I think about even by the authors from the book. Sorry, I should reference this and who sent it to me. I do apologise. Right, okay, so the thing is this, in the place where Herthu lay, which takes on a different interest, now it's in the Colburn. We'll have a chat about that, Marshall. Right, in the lake was an island called Incris, meaning Isle of the Dead, where those about to die were taken, as well as the dead before being consigned to the waters. For the people believed that those given into the lake went straight into awareness in the other world, while anyone buried on land was only half aware upon arrival, and remained half awake and half asleep for many years. So those loyal to Herthu carried him down to the boats, and accompanied him and Guinevere, connection with Guinevere perhaps, to the isle, and they were not molested, for none interfered with those mourning the dead. On the isle were priests and 9 holy maidens, good Druidic number, 9 holy maidens, who attended to the rites, while the other women ministered to the newly dead. But Herthu was not dead, though halfway across the threshold. So this apparently is... no, it's not all here now. But anyway, I think this is from the 3rd century Armenian folklore or something like that. Maybe it's later in this article, okay? So I have done some background reading as well, which I can't do much of anymore because I'm up to my nose in Wilson and Blackett. Anyway, so there's the connection, right? Mallory, and when they were at the waterside, even fast by the bank hoved a little barge with many fair ladies in it. Among them all was a queen, and all they had black hoods, and they all wept and shrieked. And when they saw King Arthur, "Now put me into the barge," said the king. And so he did softly, and there received him 3 queens with great mourning. And so they set them down, and in one of their laps King Arthur laid his head. And then the queen said, "Ah, dear brother, why have ye tarried so long from me? Alas, this wound on your head hath caught overmuch cold." And so they rode from the land. So this ties in now, and I think there's a few tie up here. Yeah. Oh, a donation. Well, thank you very much, Kenneth. Thank you. I should have asked as a super chat. You've done great, Kenneth. Thank you. That was a brilliant question. And I'm going to be researching and try and find an answer. It's on my pad. There's my whole show notes. As you can see, I don't write a lot. There's Kenneth's question. I should make notes, I guess, shouldn't I? Speed it up as my only notes. And I can't remember if that's for me or collecting money to help Alan or getting the books out. Speed it up. Anyway, so anyway, the idea is there. This all refers to the island of Avalon, and is clearly a link between the Armenian story, or Iranian, wherever it is, and Herthu, and what Mallory wrote. Okay. I'm not going to go through the same again, but it's the same again. Read this when you get a chance. We've got a link or something for it. How am I going to share this? You have to come back and pause it, I think. It's a similar sort of thing. There's 2 stories, and they match very closely, okay? Can't read it all again now, but they are very close. Take my word for it. And the other thing that comes into it is the sword and the stone. Ha ha ha! Look at this. Right, then each of Hethru's son was placed in a spot where the bisecting line joined a circle. So they stood opposite each other, and each had 3 bracelets. They threw until one encircled the blade with his bracelet, so they have to, like a game of quoits or something. Then this one tried to withdraw the weapon with his hand, but could not because of the sharpness. He picked up the wrong end. The other tried by placing... Oh yeah, it is a sharp sword, isn't it? You have to grab the blade and pull it. I've heard this story. The other tried by placing his 2 palms on each side of the blade, then pressed them together while lifting, but he could not move it either. The first one tried again, copying what had been done more powerfully, as the stone almost lifted off the ground, but the sword did not leave the stone. Then the other approached the stone, but this time he put his hands under the edge of the stone so he could lift it in his arms, and he dashed it down over a rock and smashed the rock, and then he just picked up Dislana and brandished it overhead. Therefore he's the clever clogs, and he becomes the king. Now this ties in with the sword and the stone. And this I think, and I hate to make a straw man argument just to knock it down. I'm not trying to do that. This is my research, and I'm not going to read the book. Is that this ties in with Arania. All right, it's a contentious issue. Oh, here we go. Here we are. So in the same book, the authors use historical records to demonstrate the presence of a 2nd century AD colony of Sarmatian veterans at Brennetacenium. Oh, I said that right, something like that. Modern Lancashire. And this is where they say the legends entered Britain. All right, Iranian roots of the legends of King Arthur. All right, so there was... The Sarmatians were an Iranian people flourishing in the 4th century BC, so that fits. Now, go on, it's a Sunday evening, but I'm not going to let you off completely. I want to see suggestions on the comments. I want to see people thinking, what is the fundamental flaw with this argument? All right, and it's a logic question. It's gaming theory. All right. The only bit of my degree I really did enjoy, apart from law, I suppose, was gaming theory. I am not disputing any of the things in the text. I'm not disputing that there's an Armenian myth or Sarmatian, where they come from, Iran. None of that. And it could be connections between Iran and Britain. Not disputing that. I'm not disputing it could be the source of the sword in the stone. The story could have gone both ways, but let's go with that. It's still fundamentally flawed. The whole concept, if this is what it's based on, Iranian legends carry the same motifs as King Arthur legends. I'll even give them that. I'll even say, all right, this come from Iran, these legends. The basic problem of it is, we are comparing, first sentence, are echoed in the British legends of King Arthur. The legends, this is the problem, the bloody legends, excuse my language, on a Sunday evening. They are comparing legendary Arthur with the Iranian records. Now, the legendary Arthur that they are talking about is the one written by this bloke, Thomas Mallory. Thomas Mallory is not the original King Arthur stories. He's not even the original source. He's not even close to the source. He cobbled together some stories and made them up. This whole idea of the shiny knights and all that kind of stuff, maybe he even embellished the stories with the sword and the stone and the dying in the lake and all that. Because from the research we've done, King Arthur conspiracy, you'll see Wilson and Blackett make a good argument for Arthur actually dying in America. And have I put them all up yet? I've got more videos to come with Lawrence where he explains he thinks Arthur died in Camlan. And either way, either version, he's buried under a cave, which we think we know where that is as well. Or where he's first buried and then moved. I think we found both burial sites in 3, you could argue. None of those things mention a lake. It's nothing to do with a lake. I'll ask the people out there, better read than me and more knowledgeable, where in the Welsh histories does it actually mention the sword and the stone? And where does it mention the lake? Or is this just the romantic afterthoughts by Mallory? So if their argument is that Mallory was inspired by these Iranian folk stories and embellished them with swords and lakes and ladies and hands and all that, and even the earth goddess stuff got mixed up somehow, yeah, maybe he did. I have no idea what Mallory was thinking of when he wrote his book. But that's not the historical Arthur. That's not the historical Arthur. So I would argue on this, every time you hear this Sarmatian thing, I would think 3 angles. 1, if they did come in the 2nd century AD, hundreds of years early, would they still be Sarmatian? In which way? What was the other ones? And the big one, of course, I talked about the historical Arthur, or the fact that Mallory used some of their stories to create his characters in his mythological version. Okay, so that's isn't the Sword of the Stone mentioned in the Holy Kingdom? Yes, I think it is, and I think that's I've had No Stone Untoned. Yeah, thank you, Gary. I've had theories about where the stone comes from. In the musical, which no one's asking about, no one's screaming at me for more of me singing in my songs. There's an explanation I go with there for and I don't think it's originally, God, is it my idea or not? I hate stealing ideas. This might be. Someone might have told me. I apologise. My thinking, I think, on this one is that the sword and the stone could even be a reference all the way back to the fact that the ancestors of the Britons were the Hittites, who were the first ones to use iron swords. And iron comes as a stone, which you have to melt at intense temperatures, and then you make a sword. And that would be my idea of the sword from the stone. And it's explaining how our ancestors discovered iron. Makes for a good scene in the musical, all right? And ding dong with the hammers, good music. It's going to be great. Big roaring fire, £1 million budget. Hey, it's going to be over the top. Right. No, maybe not. Right, anyway, so that was that. Okay, so I'm interested in your thoughts on that. Do you think I'm onto something there? Is that why? Have I missed the point? Is it nothing to do with why he was called Sarmatian? I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but anyway, that's sort of thinking. Guided tour to historical sites. Just a quickie on this one. What I wanted to say was I've had quite a few requests for people about doing guided tours, and I love meeting people, and I love walking the hills. I need the exercise, it's good for me, and it's good to talk about these things. And people ask good questions, like tonight I must have been asked at least 3 or 4 questions. I don't know the answers. Go and look them up, think about it, work them out. Yeah, this is how we keep our brains active, and how we move forwards and all these things. This is why we spend more time with Alan Wilson, because he needs that same stimulation. Right, so I'm happy to do sort of some guided tours. I'm thinking of putting some up, maybe an advertisement in the Sunday shows or something. I don't think it'd be too big, for a dozen people, 20 people. Fancy a walk up to one of the sites. Let's get together. I'm not looking forward. I'm looking to make this into a paying job or anything like that. Maybe we'll have a collection at the end or something, but it's not going to be, you're going to pay to come, nothing like that. Just going to be, let's meet up. Maybe I can get some lifts from the train station if people are really stuck. And then we can go, depending on how fit everyone is in the group, we can walk up one of the many, many sites we've now got. Some of the ones I was thinking people might like to see, I don't know, you tell me. I mean, so many good ones, aren't there? Better not go for the Lion's Stone. I'm in a bit of trouble with the farmer there. So I'll lie on that one for a bit. I'm trying to get in touch with him directly and negotiate that we can go up at a certain time of year as a group and maybe pay him or something rather than have any friction. Avoid lambing season, which I think is now finished anyway. Right, okay, so just thought on that one, okay? If you think that's a good idea, it's nice to meet up and we can do some stuff. Okay. Right. God, man, what time is it? I've just realised, 20 past 9. All right, I need to speed up. Right, this is the Wild Fox Resorts. Oh, hang on. I'm going to have to lift that off there. I'm not sure I've got that thing open. Come on. Yeah, this is rather sad, really. Well, I think it's sad. Maybe not everyone does. It's if you remember, up at Lego's place, the one Lego showed at Kyra, and Keith Price has been doing some excellent videos, which I've been sharing via Facebook. And I need to share via this channel as well, because Kyra is an ancient British castle, Welsh castle. It's in Wales. It's where, well, he doesn't live in the castle, but Lego lives bottom of the castle, in a place called Kyra, which means castles. So for years and years, everyone been wondering why is it called Kyra. There's no visible castle here. Then they cut down all the trees, and Rob brilliantly spotted the rings, and that was actually a hill fort. And since then, with the help of John Pitcher, Keith Price, and Rob, they've been doing lots of research, putting it all together. Brilliant historic sites, and you can see videos in the list if you go for it. Oh, hang on, got lots of comments suddenly. My custard is nearly ready. Is that helpful, Taliesin? They're already digging in Kyra, says D. Morgan. Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? How old is Alan Wilson now? Yeah, 89.99. He will be 90 in a month or two, which is why I'm organising a birthday party for the weekend of June the 11th in Newcastle. Right, so it's called Wild Fox. I'll try and put up there, if you just type in Wild Fox Wales, it'll come up. They're quite a big firm. This looks like being a massive development. So our lovely historical hill is going to be supposedly looking like this. And sad to say that all the legal stuff's been done and they're off and running. This, sensitively respond to the environment and generate socio-economic benefits, which it might well do, maybe a few jobs in it. There's no mention of any of the history, though, sadly. Important milestone, shareholders, stakeholders, blah, blah, blah. We want to work at pace to turn our vision into reality and create a new asset for tourism in Wales. I'm delighted, said the councillor, for in the conclusion of a legal agreement. I'll read it yourself. It's a bit, sorry, that sounds quite rude the way I said that. It's I just find it a bit depressing to read. I suppose it'd be a good thing and jobs and all that, but I have looked at this before, and you can see there's a PDF, which is basically the same as what they showed. They just run a press release. So it's going to look like that, our ancient hill, which looks rather nice, I suppose, isn't it, if you're into that kind of thing. But if you want to go up to Cairo, perhaps we should do a walk up Cairo, Rob. Perhaps that's one of the first ones we should do. Get as many people up as possible, do as much filming as possible to see it before it is gone. Right. Yeah, it's going to be gone. Right, there's a good video coming up in a minute. Cheer everyone up, right? Here's a great book, as I had mentioned last week. Didn't quite get round to it. Behold Jerusalem. And I am going to come back to this soon. An idea, if you look, this is the cover of the book, you can see the whole of Britain made up of like a zodiac thing, which I think is pretty cool, actually. Lawrence the Druid gave me this. And you can see Wales is the old hag, and she's pointing down at the Bardsey, perhaps, or she's pointing to something in Ireland. This is a fish, and you go through the whole book explaining why. Oh, Andy's outside. That was weird. It's gone dark, and I haven't closed the windows. It looks like a ghost walking past. So we'll have a further look at that next week. Right, let's have a bit of fun now. I'm going to show you Senghenydd update. Right, hang on. Oh, back in a sec. Okay, producer's gone. Don't they have to do archaeology recording before building in Britain like in other countries? David Church, you are exactly right. And I know Rob Lego's been trying to pressure them into doing just that. And we all need to put some more pressure on, all right? You've got to send letters to these people and say, excuse me, doing the archaeology, we'd love to know what that castle's about before you put your beautiful thing up. You know, be nice. Don't be, don't be aggressive, nothing like that. There's no need. It doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't help. Right, okay, whoa, that was really loud. That's going to blast people's eardrums. Right, I'm going to show you here now is... Actually, I'll do these in reverse order. I'll show them in reverse order. Sorry, you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about changing the order. Let's block this one.
So what was your concern with these then, Bob?
Right, hang on. I will put it on screen.
The concern I have
is... Pause! Right, thank you. It's voice control computers. You have to shout at them. Right, okay. So this is Bob and I and Tim Lewis as well. Yeah, Tony says there. Tony, what a good name. Tony Trismegistus. Come on, Tony. Give us something easier. Trismegistus. Now, if it's ancient and in Wales, they can't wait to pour concrete on it. Yeah. Yeah, Lego is trying to keep tabs on them. He's including the turbines. I know. This is about turbines, really. So I'm going to show you here. We've been on about it for ages. Actually, I need to move myself. Sorry you can't see me. But you don't see Bob, and that's no good. Have I disappeared? Is that this video you'll see in a second, just a short one, I'm going to put more up, shows the area is going to become a wind farm and ruined as far as we're trying to track it down, because particularly Steve Willets is doing work trying to... He's tracked down... There's a Babylonian zodiac with all the place names matching across South Wales. And if you remember, a couple of weeks ago, I did that chat with him. And one of the things he pointed out on the map was where the centre point, the Polaris is, on the map. And he wanted us to go up there to Senghenydd, check out the area, particularly inside that box, and see if we could find it. Well, Bob is just like Surveyor King. He's got a Land Rover, which is really cool. So we went up there to work out, and we found it. Well, we're pretty certain we found it. I say we, that's the royal we. I didn't do much apart from point and Phil make suggestions. Bob found it, but anyway. Bob's so good at all his stuff. He's the real pro. So here's a little bit explaining how the windmills are going to go up and how it's going to work and what other things Bob's concerned about.
So what was your concern with these then, Bob? How's it?
The concern I have is that in order to get the turbines to site and erect them, they're going to have to create a whole maze of tracks, new trackways. And these are going to be stone tracks, and they're going to be probably anything up to between 6 and 8 meters wide in order to get the vehicles up here. But the concern really is the turbines, the tracks will end up inevitably having to cross over the old ditch. The old mountain ditch, and the old dike itself.
Senghenydd dikes, yeah.
Yeah, so they're creating a new access track in about, I think it's from memory, it's about 1.5 kilometres of access track there to link up with the main road network up here. So they're bringing all of the trucks up here, and at that point then they've got to get tracks to all of these turbine locations. So they will come off the main road, and I suspect they're going to use the byway network, these crosses all on here. And in order to do that, then they'll regrade them and then restone them and make them level and strong enough to take the weight. So that's a public benefit then, because the byways will then be brought up to standard, to a better standard than they are now. But even if you look at where the byways are, they've still got to cross over the old dike in order to get to the turbine location.
And as we can see from places like Mynydd y Gaer, they're not shy about carving through a hill or two, are they? Because the corners can't be sharp, I think, can they? And the gradients.
The gradients can't be steep because of the weight of the tower sections and the nacelle and generator. And it can't be too long because the blade sections have got to get round the corners.
So you can't have sharp corners.
So you can't have short 90-degree corners. There are radiuses and gradients, and each turbine manufacturer has got very strict specifications on those. So the roads will have to be made up to that standard. And once the roads are in there, even after 25 years, when the turbines are gone, I can't see the tracks ever being ripped up. They'll just be left there to green over, and they will green over to a certain extent. But the stones will always be under there, and whatever's underneath them then will be lost. Will be inaccessible for the
other thing is we don't really know what the purpose of these dikes is, do we?
No,
why they were built.
No, the mainstream theory, the one that was put forward years ago, is that it was in order to create a deer park and keep the deer enclosed. But seeing the size of the dike and the mound, it's not that large, and certainly deer are more agile than that. I can't see the dikes keeping out deer. They might keep out cattle, but they wouldn't keep out deer, and I don't think they keep out sheep.
That's ridiculously over-engineered anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is there a fence or a wall or something? Much easier way of doing that, wouldn't it?
It'd be much cheaper and quicker to put up a big fence.
That would work better as well. There's no perceivable benefit.
If you're trying to keep deer in, you stand a better chance with a high fence. In fact, you would put up some kind of briar thorn hedge.
Yes. A hedge would do it.
A hedge would do it better than a dike. But my take on it is it could be some kind of like a big LAN or a big enclosure, and the whole area within inside of it is some kind of religious sacred site.
Yep.
Which would fit in with some of the things that Wilson Blackett views on it.
So my concern is they've got an engineering purpose, like water management or something. Because it's surprising how much water's up here, isn't it?
Yeah, but again, if you look at the contours of them, they've kept to the top of the ridge. You can see it along here, right on the plan. They're keeping along to the ridge lines, and if you were trying to do water management, you'd probably do it lower down on either side of the slopes. Up on the ridge, it's coming back to my theory that it's some kind of marker then to show that you're in an enclosed alley area. You're in the enclosed Senghenydd Valley, and you're looking up, and you should be able to see. In the olden days, without any trees or anything like that, you could probably see in large parts of it the actual mound of the ditch, and it encloses all of that valley.
Yeah, because they like the idea of islands as well, didn't they? Maybe if the ditches are filled with water even or something, it does create an island, doesn't it? They seem to be an important thing.
But no, it's not only have we got the access tracks, we've also then got
just letting people know these are the turbines.
These are where the proposed turbines are going to go. The circles with the crosses in them. But not only have you got the turbine, the tracks to each of the turbine locations, you've then got to connect all these turbines up
cabling,
with the electricity substation here, where they're taking all the thing, which will then mean probably digging up cable trenches all across the common to get to that point. They could put them on wooden poles, and there's enough saw pylons and wooden poles up here already that you could argue that that's not make a big impact on the landscape, or an adverse impact on the landscape, because it's already been spoilt by the pylons. But most local authorities nowadays want the electric companies to put the cables underground to keep them hidden. And if they do that, you've still got the problem then. Not only will you have the tracks crossing the dikes, you'll also have the underground cables.
There you go. So there's the expert talking there, Bob. He's the pro. I was sort of hang on, put me back on screen a bit. Yeah, as you know, I'm the chopsy one up front, but Bob's the pro man, and it is really worrying how much devastation is going to be done to Senghenydd across there. And just to give you an idea, I thank you for the comments as well. And if you notice what Bob was saying then, what he's done, I'm not even sure if I picked up on it the first time, so I'm going to repeat it again in case you might have missed this, is what's called the Senghenydd dikes. I thought it must be something to do with stopping the water flowing or something like that. But as Bob's explained, that's probably not a practical solution because of the wrong place. The deer park thing is just ludicrous, you know. You build this massive trench system to keep out deers. They might not work anyway, and imagine them work just according to that. As Bob says, you just put up a hedge or a fence or something. So that all seems like nonsense. And what Bob's proposal is, what you call is the hill here, and this goes around, which creates a kind of, it's like an area, an enclosed area, which could be sacred. I would suggest it be sacred. As Bob was saying, it ties in Wilson and Blackett's work, and also more recently Steve Willett's work about the zodiacs up there and how they all relate to each other. And this is absolutely crucial area. Wilson and Blackett said this was the ancient capital of Wales, and the Senghenydd, which is the current sort of mock parliament that we have, is the same roots as the word Senghenydd. And this is the blind alley where the star map would be, maybe a college, maybe the seat of government, all those things up there. And there are some fascinating old ruined buildings and things. There we are, we're up against the clock because the original timetable started in June. We couldn't see any archaeology taking place or having had take place. And this will start next month, so I don't know. Right, a couple of comments were interesting on there. One, Definitive Gaze, was saying, could there be a connection between Caira, Wales, the one we're looking at with Bob, the other Bob, must we call him Lego, all these Roberts and Bobs, Cerveteri in Etrusca. Good spot, excellent spot. Yeah, and the main connection would probably be the words themselves, because the Etruscans and the ancient Welsh are the same language, very similar. Ancient Etruscan, one of the things shown in the King Arthur Conspiracy book, you can read ancient Etruscan using Welsh language Cymraeg. So you're going to see a lot of very similar words. The mainstream explanation, of course, is they're all Latin, and the Welsh just absorbed the words, because sitting around wondering what to call things until they turn up. What's that bloody thing over there we're looking through? I don't know. Pont. Yeah, a fenestra, window, whatever, you know. A bridge. So that's how it started. Well, yeah, see, Hippie Shake is saying, surely if they start digging and they come across any of this historical information, they have to stop, don't they? Well, what are they going to find? This is the question. Yes, they should, in theory. But who's going to monitor it? And how are we going to know? Because you can guarantee this will all be closed off when they do the work. And one of the people who I'm arranging a chat with, if you're on the channel, is Carl James Langford, who I chat to, and he did the same thing within the 5 mile lane development. That was all sealed off, and he actually went in and climbed over and got in and filmed it, and he got into all sorts of trouble for doing that. But he showed some of the dreadful stuff that was going on regards to archaeology. So I don't like getting into this too much because it's pretty deep water and there's some nasty people out there. I like to stick to the history, but please send those emails, get the pressure up to make sure that they don't move the big stones, I would say is number one priority. Don't move any big stones. If we go up there and stones are being blasted and used as gravel or something, there's no going back, is there? You can't work backwards. And even if we plot them as best we can, it's not to really go up there and have a look that you can really tell, you know, and if they've been moved around during the process, how would we know? So we threw in Bren's up there with his guys, Wayne and that, and hopefully they're mapping away and getting them all plotted. It's so important. And I'll show you now, just cheer things up a little bit. It's, hang on, Senghenydd Fieldwork. What's a bit of a grand name I've given this one? Hang on. The fun we had trying to plot these stones. Right, hang on a second, let's make sure it's not the blast your eardrums. No, I think it should be alright. Put a comment if it's too loud. How long is this one? 8 minutes. Oh, it's too long, really. Oh, go on. Anyone in a rush to leave or anything? You quite enjoy this. And that's Bob's dog, by the way. He's beautiful. So I'm not going to show the whole 8 minutes. Probably show about half.
Right, well, Tom again today.
Sorry, just to explain. For a start, you can't see it because it's not on screen. That would probably be a good thing, wouldn't it? Also, just to explain, this will be coming out as a video on the channel as fast as I can next week or two. This might be one for Deborah to edit because she's good at this kind of stuff. Do a better job than me anyway, and it'll get it done. So it's just a clip of what's coming. Just I know people like to see the field work, and yeah, it is still going on. All right, I know it looks like we're distracted all over the place, working hard.
Right, well, Tom again today. Got Blaze in the back. We're in the Land Rover. I'm with Bob and Tim. And we're following up what Steve Willits is showing, looking at the Babylonian names up on Senghenydd Common. We're up there. Before the dreaded Windfarm comes, remember, email your MP, your councillors, anyone you can think of, ask them why they're trashing this historical site. But anyway, so we're going to get that done before it all gets ruined. So what we're going to be looking at is trying to track down exactly how on this map we've got where the Polaris stone should be, looking at the work Steve Willett's done on looking at the Babylonian connection in South Wales, how the whole thing forms a zodiac. So the weather's not too bad. We'll out and about. Let's see how this goes. You ready, please? You ready, please? Please can see Bob. He's only got eyes for Bob. He's like, why did you let me out the car? All right, he'll be out in a second. Let's go. Okay, so this one he's blocked it. There's a byway there and the farmer's blocked it. It's an old battle zone. This is with the 4-Wheel Drivers Association. But we got the Land Rover, we can go around. So we're going to give that a go. Bob's just checking the ground to make sure it's not impossible. He's an old pro at this. Yeah, but you see there's Bob pointed out the farmer's the one likely to make all the money from the wind farm. So maybe he's happy with that. I thought it was common land, but there's always someone with a hand out going to make some money off it. So that's the general area we're looking up here. There you go. I'm trying it, Bob's going, no problem, he says. Don't try this in your Mazda or something. There we go. There's the fun part. Ah, easy, no problem at all. British engineering, eh? Oh, bit of excitement. Oh.
Oh, do you know what?
You wear seatbelts for a different reason in a Land Rover, don't you? They'll keep you in your chair. Ah, wow. Who ever thought it'd be this much fun?
It wasn't as bad as this the last time I got.
No, this has really gone downhill, hasn't it?
There's still some editing to do, as you can see, but probably good fun to give an idea. And you can see it's the kind of, these are public byways, they're known as boats, B-O-A-T. This means all traffic can travel down them. Farmers aren't allowed to block them off, okay? They do that in the face of the law, and court orders, and council orders, and they still do it. As you can see, it's quite rough. We have walked this before, it takes a few hours, so this really took a chunk out of the journey. I didn't show quite so much of this. Normally I edit these kind of things down before I broadcast them. This is like back in track. Just drag forward a bit. Yeah, it's just lots and lots of this kind of thing. The idea is I can talk to introduce the programme. Alright, you don't need that now. Alright, here we go. So we can start get this, look at the fantastic views as well, okay? So I haven't had time to edit this yet. So this gives you an idea of what the common looks like. It's quite large. And in the background there you can see what's Pontypridd basically.
Right, now the theory is, well, the idea anyway, as you can see, it's 2 stones, not 1. And if this is a sighter, what is it sighting?
So we're doing here, trying to look at the angles, compass bearings.
So 300 degrees, yeah?
With the old cauldron and the.
Yeah, unfortunately we've badly vandalised by bringing disc cutters and drills.
Well, somebody's come here with a fucking disc cutter.
Mobile
Yeah,
power
done it with a
tools.
disc cutter, like someone's
wrong with
look.
people?
Someone's come up with a drill to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just disc cut their names onto it.
There we go.
Idiots.
It'd be nice to protect some of this, wouldn't it really?
And they've used a mechanical drill here, yeah. Some twats about.
Right, so we're going to because you notice there's 2
Joseph,
stones
can
very
we
close
measure
together.
the sort of the angle of the dangle, as it were? In case that's significant.
So we'll measure the angle of the stones.
So we're looking at an alignment. This is where this long stick comes in very handy. We can work out the line and take it off the stick then. What do you reckon the line through there is? Tim?
Tim's got some ideas here. So I normally edit this delay out.
Yeah,
Sorry, Tim.
130.
He's about to say something profound, so it's worth waiting for.
The horizon. If you stand,
Yeah.
if you stand back by here,
Yes,
you've
that's
got
right.
something on the horizon.
You
Haven't
haven't you?
If you look,
Sorry.
if you stand by here, you've got the horizon, the hill in the background on the horizon. So that could be a marking. I was thinking if you're marking the sun coming up over the horizon, perhaps.
Yep.
You know, you've got the spot on the horizon. But looking this way,
Most of the sighters usually sight on something.
Because I said that's pointing at 130 degrees.
Yeah.
But the stones are canted over approximately 130 degrees. So that angle.
Yeah, that angle there is
130. And they're aligned 130.
Yeah, Tim looking suitably happy there, because what he's worked out is that the angle the stones are from the vertical, they're leaning over, is the same as the angle, how far off north they are, which is one of those weird things. Look at the beautiful views. I just saw hippie shakes in the mum's from Abercunnan. My family's from Abercunnan as well, which you can almost see in the distance.
That's a bit bizarre, isn't
In fact,
it?
you probably can if I worked it out.
Right, let's try and if we get a line on this. Oh, let me do my squats. Oh, can I actually move?
I was still in pain after my training. Sorry about my
See, now
moan.
there is on that distant hill. There is a notch. Look, which you could line up on. Let's just go through here. You can see.
Put my cursor on it.
Zoom in onto those distant hills.
That notch there, look.
So you can probably see better than me now because I've got this little tiny screen to work with. If you look just up right above the turbines, there is a notch which it sort of lines up on.
Oh, do you mean that one there?
So it can be stuff like that as well.
So there you go, that's the kind of thing, alright, just so you get an idea, and there'll be more of that, so look out for more videos on that. Hope you enjoyed that one. And, oh my goodness, it's 9:45, I haven't even got to some of the things I was going to talk about. Alright, I'm just going to flash through these, okay, and I'll try and I'll say there's going to be at least one video every day going up. So, hang on. Most of them are already gone up. They're scheduled, so there will be at least one every day at midday. Now, I got a good question today from Eric on one of the videos comments from previous week. And if you're watching, Eric, welcome if you are, or if you're watching the rebrand, I think. Now, he said, what's the meaning? Because he looked at the background. You've got Nevern in West Wales, which is explaining there where the Holy Cross from the crucifixion is supposed to be. All right, sorry, actually a second. People want to comment about the stones first. Before I go on to Nevern, because there's more stones in Nevern, I'm going to show you in a second. They put a spacer between the rocks to keep the channel open. That's interesting, rhythmistic. That's one theory. I don't know how you can prove any of these things, really. Paul from America. Hi, Paul from California. Hasn't Llewellyn Bren taken these measurements and checked the alignments and even figured out what they point to? Yeah, I'm still waiting for the full report, but I think he's on a different line of thinking. He's looking at... I think he's got a different theory about the alignments, but yeah, it is a beautiful view, isn't it? So I'm happy to combine the work. What I'm following up is very much all with Bob and we're working with Llewellyn anyway, but with Bob and Tim is looking at the Babylonian zodiac arrangement. But hopefully, if they have got a more mapped, it would make life a lot quicker. So I spoke to Llewellyn a couple of weeks ago. If I can speak to him again this week and we can swap data and all that kind of thing, would be because we haven't got much time left, only a few weeks. And like I said, you don't want to duplicate the effort. We haven't got time to duplicate. All right, so we've got some more stones coming up in a second to give you an idea how the star maps work. And this again this is from Wilson and Blackett's, the new notes I'll be given, the new download, if you like. It's like a sort of, it's huge. Anyway, now the meaning of Nevern. Now there is a Welsh version of the word Nevern. It's off the top of my head. Oh no, where's my Nevern notes? That's the Mervynian archaeology one I was going to read out. I think that's going to have to wait for next week, unfortunately. Alright, so we've got the Nevern area, and I forgot what the name is. Nant Hylon or something, the Welsh for Nevern. Come on, Ross, you should know this. I didn't look it up that long ago. Right, anyway, there is a Welsh word for it, which is slightly different. But I liked the question. I love questions, and it was a good one. And it suddenly struck me that maybe it's worth getting the old dictionary out and having a look if we can find something for Nevern. So this is the sort of thing you can do. All right, and I'll show you another one. Did I mention this last week? I'm not sure. I'm talking about Crimea. And one, for example, Balaclava. It's supposed to be the Crimean, there's language link and everything. Bala is lake. And I managed to find in here, actually I don't think I did do it. I think I just told Paul and Michael when they came around about the typing. Let's do that one just quickly first. Because, Wilson and Blackett in their notes mentioned a lot about the Crimea and different places, like Crimea being an anagram or mangled version of Cymria, where the Cymru were. Loads of places. You can follow the migration routes and everything. It was just like, wow, it's huge. And I'll do more on that one. But one thing they showed was Balaclava, where they didn't say what clava meant. It's like you see lake in Bala. And I was like, and what does clava mean? So I thought, first of all, I looked up clava, which is a burial place. Also a place with, this is the bit, hang on a second, this is that one second, because that's the key, I think. So there's a couple of versions of, it could have been clava. Yeah, that's my favourite. Right, this is an interesting one. Clavar, C-L-A-V-A-R, clava, or single F if you're spelling modern Welsh spelling, is it's leprosy, and it's all to do with hospitals and leprosy, which I thought was quite interesting, because there was an awful lot of sickness in the Crimean War, wasn't it? Balaclava, in case you don't know, is in the Crimea, little pointy down bit from Russia into the Black Sea, originally colonised by the Britons, it would seem, or the Cymry, and that's very controversial lately. And where's the name Balaclava comes from? Because amazingly, a lot of these places are very ancient when they're descriptive names. Now, if you go on something like Wikipedia or something, there's no real good source of Balaclava. It says it comes from the Turkish expression for fishing ground. I'm not buying that, because if it's fishing grounds, there'd be balaclavas all over the place, surely. There's not just one fishing ground. But the fish connection's interesting, and maybe the Turkish one's right as well, all right, because there's strong language links. But how about this one, right? Bala, meaning lake. Clava was Cladva, so it's got a double D, Cladva, so Balacladva, is a burying place, also a place where fish go to spawn. And right, let's take a slight detour now, a second. That's I tend to do. Annoys some people, but there you go. That's the way my brain works, and that's the way this program's going to have to work sometimes. And if you look at, if I just search for Balaclava, if I could type that would help. Balaclava, there we go. It's not just a skiing mask, alright? I don't want the clothing. Come on, I want the police. Good grief, thinking what's going on with the world. I don't. Well, that's what a balaclava looks like, because they're all freezing to death in that war because it was so badly provisioned. Can I get the balaclava of the police? Hang on. Balaclava. Crimea. There we go. If we look at balaclava itself, I was quite shocked. Look at this. It's like a lake. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? And I've been trying desperately for the last week, amongst other things, to find out if it is actually a fish spawning area, and it does seem to be of enormous ecological interest, environmental interest. There's all sorts of surveys done there, and lots of marine life, and there's a lot of argument going on at the moment about the pollution from the development, and they're putting oil into the thing and polluting it, and there's all the fish there. And in Welsh it means the lake where the fish go to spawn. I thought just like, wow, how weird's that? So I thought we'd look at Nevern. I always look it up, all right? So Nev, I think we all know Nev, is the root for a lot of... I should go to full screen, shouldn't I? Is the root of a lot of words to do with heaven, like nevoid is heaven, and there's loads of words begin with Nev. But I never actually bothered looking up Ern, E-R-N. I was just going to try a second camera now so you could look with me. But Ern is a word. Slightly surprised me, and I was quite stunned when I looked it up. Right, so it's got a couple of versions. It's got what serves to drive on. I don't know if that applies to a cross. Earnest money. What is given to settle a bargain? A bargain being an agreement. So if it's the holy thing given to settle the agreement. Oh, one of those moments when my jaw just dropped, thinking, that's a pretty cool name for a place that holds the cross. The place of the holy thing that was given to keep the agreement. It's in black and white, the name Nevern, isn't it? Surprised Alan never spotted that, actually. I think he just went with the Welsh spelling, that's why. It's interesting where some of these supposed English versions come from. Anyways, just quickly around it. Again, it's another area. If you type in Empress or search something like that, you'll find a video about Empress Helen, how she brought the cross to Nevern. And it's behind this cliff. You can see half the cross is carved into the solid wall and half into the sort of stonework, which has been filled up to hide it, presumably. And it used to be a major pilgrimage site. The stones are worn smooth by people kneeling there to pray for visions of the cross. And it's almost bound to tie in with the Round Table Night stories, where it also ties in... too much for tonight, but I also want to do a thing very soon about Templar Knights and how the Templars, the names around there, and this could very nearby is the site of what's called, get it right, Ross, the Lost Templar Lodge or the Lost Templar Inn or something like that. And that's from the place names, and being as clever as Alan Wilson is, you can work out pretty much where that is as well. So it's a fascinating area for lots of reasons. And I'd like to do some tours down there sometime, but that would mean staying down there because it's West Wales. I could stay with my cousin. Yeah, that'd be okay. Right, so anyway, so we got some of the place names. I put them on, I found some pictures just to give you an idea. And the idea is then that this forms the cross. So if you go around Nevern, you can find the 4 points of the cross with these absolutely beautiful and spectacular dolmens, they're called, when they stack the stones on top of each other. So they're all well worth visiting. And as you know, I've had a couple of sleeps up on... Oh, hang on a second. That might be Carningley up there. I think that's Carningley. Someone's going to tell me I got that wrong now. But I think that's Carningley or Carneenoch. It's one or the other. So I probably slept on there, or didn't sleep on there. Froze, if you remember. I'll try again when it gets a bit warmer. So I think that's worth looking at. And I've got some notes then on this. Some of these books are big. I want to show you me looking things up. Just to... there's lots of clues and stuff you get from Wilson and Blackett's book. It's worth the extra little bit of effort to get a dictionary out, buy one of those old dictionaries, or just have a look, go to places. You know, this is how we move on, as we become involved in it. All right, so it's an interesting one. When I've seen Pentre even mentioned, I've never heard of it, didn't make the connection with John, which is a Wilson and Blackett thing. And what I've got here, we've got quite a bit on Nevern already, but I've got some new notes. A lot of this is in the books already, but it's reworded a bit differently. There's extra diagrams. It's a little bit different. And explains why these cairns are there and how they form the squares. Because there's another zodiac. There's not just one. We got Hugh Evans' fantastic, massive zodiac in Gwynedd. We're pretty sure we got the one in South East Wales. There's this one in West Wales. They could well be the one around Glastonbury. There's one in the south coast of England. It seems to be a common feature rather than unique. So I just want to read a little bit of this now. So in the ancient zodiacs, the sign of the heavenly cross stands immediately above the sign which the Greeks named as Aquilius, the seahorse. Here, the Cymric name of Avanc or Alfanc appears. Have I put that on the map? Dope. All right, that's on the next drawing. The 1848 dictionary nominates Afanc as the crocodile or water monster. Why have we got ancient Welsh words for crocodiles, eh? Egyptian zodiacs show it as a fish with its head as the head and legs of a deer. The older Egyptian zodiacs show a sacrificial lamb instead of a swan. And this is where we come into Cygnus and the cross. And the lamb and the swan. All these things intervene. And I think that Graham is more onto it than he realises with his book, the Jerusalem book, showing the zodiac. In the heavens in any zodiac, there is the brilliant star Gamma. In Delphinius, the sign of the fish in proximity to the water monster Aquilius. This is again shown by modern Chemis, or the male salmon. That is definitely on there. So we've got another one over there. So this again, it's another fascinating area, and I'll do more on this. Just want to give you a little flavour. I'll show you quickly. I don't know if this is going to work on the camera. Quite a long way from the camera these days. You get an idea there, the sort of notes they leave. And what I'll do then is try and produce something pretty like the thing you see. Oh, hang on, you can't. It's too small, isn't it? Hang on. Hopefully you can see that a bit better. And what I'm trying to do then is redo these things then as the sort of pretty pages and make... I don't know. I think what I've come to conclusion, one of the way my thinking is going at the moment regards a lot of the work, is to actually produce like this compilation and just... It's going to be a fairly random set of essays. Just jumping around the topics rather than trying to make a cohesive book all the time is hard work. Because I'll go through it. I should have gone through that list. I'm a little bit annoyed I didn't have the list in front of me of at least 12 books that are all urgent and all need doing. So help is appreciated. But bear with me, because a lot of people who sent volunteers to type and stuff I haven't got back to yet. Because the problem is, it's great having all the help and it's brilliant and it's the only way we can do it. So please keep volunteering. But then there's the issue of managing all the help to coordinate it and keep a track of where the documents are going and all that kind of thing. So it's worth it, but it does create an extra job between the work and this. So we're looking at that kind of stuff, okay? All right, almost finished now. There we go. Just another picture there. Yeah, I'm sure that's Carneenoch in the background there. Is Alice? I haven't seen Alice for ages. You'll tell me. Right, I was going to go through... What time is it? Nope, it's going to have to wait this one. I'll just give you a flavour for it. all I wanted to do was, again, I got a whole bunch of notes. It's fantastic. And this is worth its own video, actually. Because there is a one-page introduction from Wilson and Blackett, and what they're really talking about is this ridiculous idea that all the Welsh records are forged and that Iolo just invented everything. I mean, they're vast. If you ever look at the Nevernian archaeology, you'll see it's absolutely huge. And I didn't realise as well, it's got all sorts. Sciences are in there, arts, poems, history, philosophy, law. It's a complete work. There's no way one person could fake that, or even a group of people. And what I was going to read then is a bit, I'll just read a little bit, because this is from, I think this is written in 1840 something. I'm not actually reading Wilson and Blackett for a second. This something that Wilson and Blackett had put as part of their notes. Can you see that? Not really, can you? Give you an idea. You can see the font, just get an idea there's some sort of this old thing. And what they're talking about here is that basically a lot of things just haven't changed at all. The same the same problems, because what happened was the printing had been banned in the Welsh language completely. Well, pretty much since printing was invented, introduced by Caxton. Bob Morgan, the research king, has been looking into finding the actual act of law which stops it. Can't find exactly what Wilson and Blackett are referring to, but the effect is the same, whether it's a specific law or not, because the official language is English, and things can only be printed with consent, and then things can only be printed in England. So they can only be printed in England in English. So it doesn't specifically say you can't use Welsh as far as we can find on the statutes, but the effect's exactly the same. So just a quick burst of this, just the first paragraph, and it's added to this enormous list of things to do. A lot of people have problems with content for their channels, but here it's problem enough hours in a day. Right, so this is a short review of the present state of Welsh manuscripts. The existence of very ancient Welsh manuscripts in prose and verse has been announced considerably more than 2 centuries ago. Okay, this is written in the 1840s, I'm pretty sure. Round about there, anyway. Many respectable English writers have expressed a degree of surprise and even regret that these valuable remains of antiquity have never been consigned to the press, and so long have their expectations been disappointed that hints and even assertions have of late been thrown out that we have none, or none that are authentic. We will, however, advise such as entertain this opinion to suspend their judgment until the completion of this publication. Isn't it wonderful how people used to speak? And what he's saying there is right, we got the documents, finally the laws have been lifted to stop us printing. So from the 1790s you see this massive outburst of printing old Welsh documents, and these copiers, as Alan calls them, which I didn't know what he meant for ages, copiers, people who copy documents like Iolo, trudging around, getting the documents, copying them, and then getting them printed in this huge compendium called the Nevern archaeology. Right, so let's skip a little bit here. And you can see Wilson and Blackett not making their arguments up, they're just repeating stuff largely from 200 years ago. In every other nation of Europe, each what they were saying in the first paragraph was, yeah, we have got documents. Why are you surprised? And why are you calling us forgers and liars? And we've invented this. Of course it's authentic. We just haven't been allowed to print it before. We're finally allowed to print it, so we're printing it, okay? So in every other nation of Europe, each venerable monument of ancestral celebrity in the possession of ancient and opulent families, because the family is the only place you could keep it. There was no museums, no libraries. Officially, the stuff couldn't exist. So very bravely, the noble families of Wales had their own personal libraries where they kept the stuff. And Iolo had to go around door to door and say, please can I have a look? You can trust me. You know, I won't grass you up or anything. I just need to make a copy. So right, in every other nation of Europe, such venerable monuments of ancestral celebrity in the possession of ancient and opulent families would have been long ago produced to the world with a degree of exaltation that would have been very laudable. But it has not been so in Wales. And I'll jump forward a bit. These first serving virtues, for such they certainly are, have almost disappeared in Wales. The amor patrice has long ceased to actuate the souls of families who for many ages were by the Welsh nation regarded as the descendants and representatives of their venerated princes, who were even as such obeyed by them for a long time after the title of sovereign was no longer allowed them. These families found their accounts in the general and warm attachments of the natives of Wales, who now know not those that are descended from their ancient native sovereigns, or if they do, regard them not as such. About the time when when Wales was incorporated with England, government seems to have entertained an idea that it was not safe or politic to suffer the Welsh language to live. The use of it was discouraged, and all that could decently and with saving appearances be done was attempted to suppress and annihilate it. And there's quite a bit more there, and that's going to be getting its own video soon, so lots more to look out for on that. And if you are a Welsh speaker and you're prepared to do a lot of translation work, there's the name of it on the screen, because I can always say it wrong. I'm getting a hang of it now. Nevernian Archaeology is probably the most controversial book in British history, I would say. Definitely Welsh history anyway. All right. I have a lot to do the Greek bit, so thanks again, Angie, putting all this Greek stuff together. We will get to it one day. It's always there. But there you go. It's just flooding with information at the moment. There's so much. 10:05, you go to school tomorrow. Who's playing out the show? Is that you? Oh, I've kept you awake, poor thing. Go on, off you go. Get next to the keyboard. You can turn up a little bit louder as well, because you're quite away from the microphone, okay?
Okay.
Alright, so my little helper here is going to play us. Are we going to play us, Leon? Or are you just going to make something up?
I'm not going to. I can't remember the
Just make stuff up. Can we see you? Hang on. Let's have a look. There he is. Excellent. Oh, you're going to use music this time. All right, there we go. So there we go. He looks a bit tired, poor thing. All right. The native princes would take their library to the tower whilst they waited to be hung, drawn and quartered. They're never seen again. Yeah, neither were the documents either, sadly. Was his name Scholasticus, wasn't it? Was very proud of himself for burning everything. All right, sorry, Liam, I'm going to be quiet, so you're going to play over me. Turn it up. Go on, play it up. Turn it up, mate. Right, so thank you very much. There was a long old show, wasn't it? 2 hours. I hope it's flown by for you as well. It seemed to fly by for me. And like I said, there's no problem with the content, so it's going to be more and more focused in on Wilson Black and closely related. And I have got a humdinger to do showing... once I put this video together, finish it, the whole explaining the myth of Roman Britain. And how even in the official narrative it doesn't work. And Wilson and Black have done most of the work. I then tie it in with what Flamenco have done. And by drawing together Flamenco's work, some of the other ancient historians, you can see what was done. Because there's a couple of light bulb moments reading. Thank you, Leon. It's excellent. Keep going. There's a couple of light bulb moments in Wilson and Blackett's notes, which suddenly I could see how they did it. Wilson and Blackett explained why, and the logic, and when. And then it suddenly clicked, because I don't think Wilson Blackett ever read Flamenco, and he put the two together. It's great. Anyway, I have to finish that. You're going to turn... thank you for that, Leon. That's very nice indeed. Are you going to splat the camera for me?
Okay.
Yeah, I like doing this bit, eh? Good fun. Well, yeah, you're going to time it. Hang on a second. You're going to say... that's why you can say goodbye from all of us, Heduk, all right?
Okay.
Hang on a second. You're doing North Star as well. I want to hear your voice. There we go. People had plenty of my voice this evening.
Goodbye, everybody, and Havu.
Oh, I got it the thing. Oh, yeah, sorry, I got it the button. I messed up my bit. All right, hang on a second. All right, try again. Go on, off you go.
Goodbye, everybody, and Havu.
It didn't reach the light camera. I got to watching it while the big lag is finally coming through onto my screen. Yay, there we go. Thank you very much, everybody. And, I tell you what we're going to do. While we go to bed. Come I'll be up with you now. I'll follow you up in a second. Whisper, whisper, so no one can hear us. What I'm going to do, I mentioned this last week. I have got a recommendation for you, which is on YouTube. Oh, I haven't got the list. I haven't got the thing here, but I need the... Sorry, David. I was going to plug your David Saucepan Vach. He sent me some more Saucepan Bach, not Vach, isn't it? Did I get this right? Hang on. He's got some fantastic music on there. I've been listening to it. He sent me some CDs all the way from Australia. I think they're great. A lot of the songs are on... Yeah, look for Saucepan Bach, David, and brilliant musician, brilliant music, and you enjoy that. Some interesting ideas in there as well, which touch on many things we do and truth and things like that. But anyway, only say goodbye once is the old rule. I'm going to say goodbye twice. So no starichi. Peace to everybody. Heddiw. Until next time. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, lots more videos coming.